Welcome back to our channel Arunachala Medical Encyclopedia. In this video, we are going to learn the anatomy of heart. Starting with chambers of heart. Heart has 4 chambers. To understand the chambers of heart, I have drawn a schematic diagram here. So let's consider this box as heart, and these are the 4 chambers of heart. 2 chambers on the right side and 2 chambers on the left side. By the way, 2 chambers above and 2 chambers below. The 2 chambers above are called as atrium and the 2 chambers below are called as ventricle. The chamber which is above on the right side is called as right atrium of heart. Here this is the right atrium of heart. And the chamber above on the left side is called as left atrium. Here this is the left atrium of heart. And the chamber below on the right side is called as right ventricle. Here this is the right ventricle. And the chamber below on the left side is called as left ventricle. Here this is the left ventricle of the heart. So these are the 4 chambers of heart: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. So moving on to the blood vessels connected to the heart. So here let's learn that also with the example of this diagram. Starting with the right atrium of the heart. Right atrium of the heart is connected with 2 blood vessels. The one above is called as superior vena cava. Here this is the superior vena cava of the heart, which is connected to the upper part of the right atrium. And the lower part of the right atrium is connected to the blood vessel called inferior vena cava. Here this is the inferior vena cava of the heart, which is connected to the lower part of the right atrium. So the right atrium of the heart is connected to the superior vena cava above and the inferior vena cava below. And moving on to the next chamber, right ventricle. Right ventricle of the heart is connected to one blood vessel which is called as pulmonary trunk. Here this is the pulmonary trunk of the heart, which is connected to the right ventricle. This pulmonary trunk in turn bifurcates into 2 blood vessels. They are called as pulmonary artery. Each pulmonary artery reaches the lungs. So here this is the left pulmonary artery which reaches the left lung, and this is the right pulmonary artery which reaches the right lung. So pulmonary trunk is the blood vessel which is connected to the right ventricle of the heart. And moving on to the next chamber of the heart, left atrium. So here this is the left atrium. Left atrium of the heart is connected with 4 pulmonary veins. So here these are the 4 pulmonary veins that are connected to the left atrium of the heart, 2 from either side. These pulmonary veins brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. So 2 pulmonary veins from either side of the lungs. So 2 pulmonary veins from the right lungs and 2 pulmonary veins from the left lungs, they are connected to the left atrium of the heart. And moving on to the next chamber, left ventricle. So here this is the left ventricle of the heart. It is connected to arch of aorta. So here left ventricle is connected to arch of aorta, which pumps the blood to the entire part of the body. So let's recall the blood vessels of the heart. Right atrium of the heart is connected with the superior vena cava above and inferior vena cava below. Right ventricle is connected with pulmonary trunk. Left atrium is connected with 4 pulmonary veins, 2 from either side. And left ventricle is connected with arch of aorta. So moving on to the next topic, valves of heart. So valves are nothing but a gate-like structure present in between the 2 chambers of the heart or between one chamber and the blood vessel. So here the valve present between the right atrium and the right ventricle is called as tricuspid valve. So here this is our right atrium and this is our right ventricle. The wall present between the right atrium and the right ventricle is called as tricuspid valve. And the next valve, the wall present between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk is called as pulmonary valve. So here, this is our right ventricle and this is the pulmonary trunk. The wall present in between them is called as pulmonary valve. And the third valve, which is present between the left atrium of the heart and the left ventricle of the heart, is called as bicuspid valve. So here, this is the left atrium of the heart and this is the left ventricle of the heart. The wall present in between them is called as bicuspid valve. And the last valve, it is present between the arch of aorta and the left ventricle. It is called as aortic valve. So here, this is our arch of aorta and this is the left ventricle. The wall present in between them is called as aortic valve. So there are 4 valves present in our heart. The one between the right atrium and the right ventricle is called as tricuspid valve. The one between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk is called as pulmonary valve. And the one between the left atrium and the left ventricle is called as bicuspid valve. And the one between the left ventricle and the arch of aorta is called as aortic valve. So these are the 4 valves present in the heart. Moving on to the next topic, circulation of blood through the heart. Here, let's learn that with this example diagram. Deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body is brought to the right atrium through superior vena cava, and deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body reaches the right atrium through inferior vena cava. So, the deoxygenated blood from the entire part of the body reaches the right atrium of the heart through superior and inferior vena cava. And the deoxygenated blood which is filled in the right atrium reaches the right ventricle with the help of tricuspid valve present between them. Here, the blood from the right atrium reaches the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve. And the right ventricle pumps the blood to the lungs with the help of pulmonary trunk. So, pulmonary trunk carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. And lungs purifies this deoxygenated blood into oxygenated blood and sends it back to the left atrium of the heart through 4 pulmonary veins. So, pulmonary vein brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart. And from the left atrium, the oxygenated blood reaches the left ventricle through the bicuspid valve present in between them. So here, the oxygenated blood from the left atrium enters the left ventricle. Now, the left ventricle is going to pump the blood to the entire part of the body through arch of aorta. So, arch of aorta carries the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to the entire part of the body. So, the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body reaches the right atrium through superior vena cava, and the lower part of the body deoxygenated blood reaches the right atrium through inferior vena cava, and right atrium in turn sends the blood to the right ventricle. Right ventricle pumps the blood to the lungs with the help of pulmonary trunk, and lungs purifies the deoxygenated blood and turns it into oxygenated blood and send it back to the left atrium through pulmonary veins. And from the left atrium it reaches the left ventricle, and the left ventricle of the heart pumps the oxygenated blood to the entire part of the body with the help of arch of aorta. So here, let's learn the circulation with the diagram of a heart. Here, the deoxygenated blood from the entire part of the body reaches the right atrium of the heart with the help of superior and inferior vena cava. And from the right atrium, it reaches the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, the blood is pumped into the pulmonary trunk and it reaches the lungs both the side. And lungs purifies the blood and send it back to the left atrium of the heart through 4 pulmonary veins, 2 on either side. And the oxygenated blood which reaches the left atrium of the heart reaches the left ventricle through the bicuspid valve, and the left ventricle pumps the blood into the arch of aorta, and arch of aorta carries the blood to the entire part of the body. So this is how the blood circulates through the heart. So now let's recall what we have learned. Starting with chambers of heart, there are 4 chambers in our heart. They are right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. The next one is blood vessels of heart. Right atrium is connected to superior and inferior vena cava. Right ventricle is connected to pulmonary trunk. Left atrium is connected to pulmonary veins, 2 on either sides. Left ventricle is connected to arch of aorta. And there are 4 valves present in the heart. The one between the right atrium and the right ventricle is called as tricuspid valve. The one between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk is called as pulmonary valve. And the valve between the left atrium and the left ventricle is called as bicuspid valve. And the valve between the left ventricle and the arch of aorta is called as aortic valve. So these are the 4 valves present in the heart: tricuspid valve, pulmonary valve, bicuspid valve, and aortic valve. So moving on to the circulation, deoxygenated blood reaches the right atrium of the heart through superior and inferior vena cava. It reaches the right ventricle, and right ventricle pumps the blood to the lungs through pulmonary trunk. Lungs purifies the blood and sends it back to the heart through 4 pulmonary veins to the left atrium of the heart. Left atrium sends the blood to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle pumps it to the arch of aorta through the entire part of the body. So that's all for this class. Comment below if it is useful. Stay tuned for more such classes. For doubts, you can WhatsApp us on the number shown here. Thank you.